Hi, Daniel Sage here again from One-to-One Physical Therapy and Aquatics. We're getting really close to the Balance and Dizziness Workshop. I can't wait to see you there. Wanted to kind of go over in the last email or last video, I spoke about how people with balance and dizziness problems, how they tend to alter how they're getting around. And let me kind of go over that one more time. Again, you've seen people in the community where they go up a curb and they've got to hold on to their spouse or significant other. Or when they're in Publix, they've got to rely on that shopping cart to go up and down the aisles because they just feel unsteady. Or you see that person that goes to get up from a chair where they actually rock back and brace themselves on the chair to prevent themselves falling into the chair. That's altering how people are getting around, and we've seen it, I'm sure you've seen it, people with balance problems or dizziness problems, how they're just altering how they're getting around. In this video, I wanted to share with you something else that we have seen people with balance and dizziness do that is near and dear to my heart especially, and that's they ignore their problem. So let's take somebody who has a balance problem. They feel a little bit unsteady. They don't do anything about it. They haven't fallen yet. They say to themselves, well, I'm 75 years old. I haven't fallen yet. Or I'm getting older. I'm not running a marathon. And if you said this to yourself or if you heard this from others, it's common. And it's very near and dear to me because my father, who had suffered from Parkinson's, he had balance problems. Say maybe 8, 9, 10 years ago, we've noticed unsteadiness on his feet. He lived up the street from my clinic, and I would say to my dad, hey, why don't you come on in and get some treatment? And he's like, no, I'm doing fine. I haven't fallen and so forth. Well, long story short, he didn't come in for treatment, and his balance got worse. And then he went to a cane. He had to use a cane to get around because he was just unsteady. And I said, why don't you come in for some treatment? Still ignored the problem, kind of felt like he was able to do what he had to do, kind of just made excuses for why he didn't want to come in for balance therapy. And eventually the cane wasn't enough, and then he went to a walker. And then he was getting around the house with the walker, and then the walker wasn't good enough. He was unsteady on his feet. At this point, he did come in for some treatments, but he waited a long time. So now we're trying to fix a bigger problem, and the balance started getting worse. And then he had a fall in the home, hit his head, ended up in the hospital, and it just was a dwindling downward spiral from there. And I share this story because if it's you or someone you know that their balance or unsteadiness is getting worse and they're ignoring their problem, it doesn't help. Ignoring the problem makes things worse. And I'm very passionate about communicating that message because my dad ended up in a wheelchair, and he ended up being able to get around his home in the wheelchair only because anytime he stood up, even with the walker, he wasn't safe. And my mom couldn't provide him the assistance he needed. So he did most of his getting around the home in a wheelchair. And I don't want that for you. I don't want that for someone you know and love. I want to be able to help you take care of balancing dizziness right away so you can continue to enjoy everyday activities. Or if you're not enjoying them like you want to, I want to be able to help you do that. So the workshop is going to be extremely informative. We're going to go over balance and dizziness treatment techniques and what you can do to help yourself. We're going to go over these things that people do to cope with balance and dizziness that get in the way and that become a big mistake. And we're going to help you solve those problems. So I'm so excited for this workshop. I know you're going to find it extremely informative, and it's your chance to come in and share your story. And I'm going to share with you what you can do to help yourself or what your friends or family, bring them to. If they're having balance problems, this workshop is to raise awareness of people in the community that you do not need to get around unsteady, and you don't need to hold on to your spouse or significant other to get up from a chair or go up a curb, or you don't need to lean on someone's car to go up a curb. There's safer ways to do it. There are ways that you can work on your balance to prevent having to do that. And we're going to go over that at the workshop. Bring the worksheet that we emailed you. We'll see you soon.